Hello, I'm Dr. David DeRose, the host of American Indian and Alaska Native Living. That's right. If you recognize my voice and connect it with American Indian Living, we've actually rebranded our program to include our, our friends in Alaska, those indigenous peoples who've been really part of our journey from the very beginning of our show, but just wanting to make that link tighter. So now instead of being American Indian Living, we're American Indian and Alaska Native Living. Our website has changed as well, AIANL.org. That's for American Indian Alaska Native Living.org. Why I'm doing this video is because we're doing something new. In addition to rolling out a new name for our magazine and for our radio show, we're actually also trying to roll out some video content that complements our weekly radio show. We had the privilege of interviewing Dr. Eddie Ramirez for our very first show that carried the title American Indian and Alaska Native Living. And Eddie was good enough to share some of this video content with us as well. You'll hear some actual excerpts from the show specifically focused on a really important question throughout Indian country and beyond, and it has to do with this. Does it really make a difference when you eat as far as your blood sugars? We're going to find out the answer is a resounding yes. Dr. Ramirez is going to talk with us about some lessons that were presented at a conference that his group hosted called I Thrive. That's right. Dr. Ramirez is heading up a group called AWIN. That's abbreviated AWHN. They're based in Pennsylvania. This nonprofit organization hosted an event called I Thrive. And that's what Dr. Ramirez and I were talking about in the entire 1 hour show, or at least portions of the 1 hour show that featured his interview. But in this segment, we speak about a particular emphasis in the I Thrive program that has profound implications for diabetes. And if you watch the entire presentation on video, you'll see that it also relates to high blood pressure. You don't want to miss this video interview with Dr. Ramirez. And if you want to hear the whole interview, the whole 1 hour program, you can pick it up at AIANL.org. That's for American Indian Alaska Native Living.org. Again, I'm your host, Dr. David DeRose, and we're going to go right now to this interview that Dr. Ramirez and I had together just a short while ago. Enjoy this video content. One of the big topics that always comes up when I'm traveling throughout Indian country is diabetes. You really had a very interesting focus, I understood, on diabetes. And since I wasn't able to attend, I'm looking forward to learning maybe some of the things that you gleaned from that very special emphasis. Tell us about it.
Yes. Also, diabetes in parentheses, a personal passion of mine as a Latino people, very much affected by this diabetes epidemic. But anyhow, one of our speakers, Dr. Kaleova, originally from the Czech Republic, she did this control trial in which she had two groups, and both groups had the same amount of food, same amount of calories. The only thing that changed is one group was eating multiple meals throughout the day. The second group was eating only twice a day. And the interesting thing, even though they were eating the same food, the group eating the twice a day plan, their insulin resistance improved. In other words, their body was able to decrease their fasting glucose. Both groups, as they were measured in the different body measurements, the people following the 2 meals a day, they were able to lose weight and actually report feeling overall better than the other group eating the multiple.
Now, this is really interesting. You started by saying they were eating the same number of calories. And as I'm listening to you, though, it wasn't just the same number of calories. This was actually the very same foods, the very same menu. Am I hearing you right?
Exactly. No difference in the menu.
Well, what's so interesting about this is a lot of folks over the years have said, well, you're better off to graze, just eat throughout the day.
Many people think, well, this was a more natural way to eat, but even in many indigenous societies, people did not eat that way. I'm not trying to generalize to any given tribe or any given group of people, but many people did have some type of fixed meal time. Why does that seem to be beneficial? I mean, the study says that it lowers insulin resistance, but do we have any insight into why that would be?
Yeah, it's multiple possible explanations. One of them is the fact that our digestive system needs some rest. And if we don't let the system regenerate and constantly work it and work it and work it, that has negative implications regarding GI. But also talking about what we were mentioning briefly at the beginning about the clock genes, it seems there is that clock gene in us in which when we work with it, when we understand it better, better results happen. So our bodies handle food better early in the day than late in the evening. Just a research one research paper came out recently that was showing that people that eat after 6 p.m., they tend to gain weight, and their weight tends to get worsened if they continue that practice. Again, this has to do with that timing and working with our clocks instead of against them.
So one of the take-home messages that we're sharing with listeners to today's show is if you're trying to watch your weight, if you're trying to improve your diabetes, eat your calories earlier in the day and try to condense them into maybe 2 meals instead of multiple meals. Am I hearing that right?
That's correct. And that's something that I documented in another research paper, full-length paper that we published recently, about a year from now. In that paper, we were taking people that follow that 2 meals a day plan that participated of an 18-day program called the New Start program up in Weimar, California. And we took 1 year of data of every single one of those participants that had high blood pressure. And as you know, a sister of diabetes is high blood pressure, part of that metabolic syndrome. An interesting finding that we were able to document on that paper is that 93% of the people that participated of that 18-day program, either we had to stop their blood pressure medication, which was a big majority of those participants, or we had to decrease their blood pressure medication as the blood pressure was improving in a matter of 18 days. This is the beauty about this. This is how fast the healing starts to take place. As they were being followed by a physician, who was measuring and checking. He's the one that determined that these people had to lower their blood pressure medication.
Now, you and I, of course, have common roots, although we weren't there at the same time. We both worked on the staff there of Weimar Institute in Northern California. And it's an exciting program. But, of course, it was doing more than just limiting meal timing, right?
That's right. This is a whole package. It's called the New Start program because it has N for nutrition, E for exercise, W for water, S for sunlight, T for temperance, which means moderate use of the good things, abstinence of harmful things, A for fresh air, R for proper rest, and T for trust, which encompasses the relational, emotional, spiritual aspects of the human being. So we're dealing with all those aspects at one, together with the 2 meals a day.
Well, that's all for the special video bonus from this week's edition of American Indian and Alaska Native Living. I'm Dr. David DeRose. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and be sure to catch the whole interview. Program is nearly an hour in length, and you can listen to it all at AIANL.org. That stands for American Indian Alaska Native Living.org. And by the way, when you go to that AIANL.org website, you'll also find our magazine, American Indian, Alaska Native Living. You'll find access to previous radio shows, and as we go forward from here, links to video content as well. I'm Dr. David DeRose, as I sign off every week, wishing you the very best of health.